Hello everyone, welcome back. I did a video earlier which contained the speech that Graham Moore had written, the idea of which was to read it out in the middle of the court in the hearing at Chester, where I've been for the last 3 days. And I thought it was very important that it saw the light of day on a YouTube channel. So that's why I did the recording. I'll leave a link to it as an end screen at the end of this video, so keep watching to pick it up. And it's really, really, really something, and has attracted some great comments. While we're on the subject of Chester, while I was there, I met a person who had a very interesting tale to tell, namely along the lines or the subject of, once again, election fraud, going back probably 5 or 6 years, and presented to me some information and some documents and some files regarding the case that they'd actually built up. And what I want to do with you with this video is share that information out of that file so you can see that problems with our elections are systemic. They need dealing with, and there is ready evidence all the way through. I am waiting for somebody else to get in touch with me as well with yet more information. But one thing I've learned over the last few days, constitutionally, I mean, I knew this anyway, we have a right to vote in free and fair elections. And if we don't have that right, then the sovereignty of Parliament itself is called into question. It's really very serious. So without further ado, let's have a look at this. Now, I'm sure you recognise the chap in the video, still at the bottom. That's Dominic Raab. Now, this is all to do with the election that he stood in you know, the last time he was in. And what I want to take your attention to first and foremost, and it's very important you understand this, is his majority at the top, where it gives the results of where he was returned. And you can see steadily between the different elections, it's got less and less and less, all the way down to about 2,743. Now, above here, he spoke about the postal vote and felt confident that he would be returned. So what you've got to realise is at this stage, when this video was actually produced, the election hadn't been declared. No result had been declared yet. He was talking about feeling confident because of the result of the postal vote. Interesting. So what else happened? It's clear that the media have knowledge of the postal vote ahead of the final count. Laura Kuenssberg talked about the 2019 postal vote on live TV. I actually remember that. You know, they have an idea because of the postal vote, what's going on. And I do wonder, you know, as we discussed in Runcorn and Helsby, does that stretch into situations with the regular vote as well? There was at least one other person in Runcorn and Helsby I spoke to, besides the individual that gave me this, who told me about irregularities with theirs also. It's also clear that the postal vote is counted ahead of the ballot closing. In 2015, the interviewer tells Ed Balls that the postal vote for his constituency had been counted and it's not looking good. So over the last 10 years at least, you've got problems there with regard to the postal vote and the fact that they're openly talking about it. Now, one of the things that came out in the trial at Runcorn and Helsby when we were looking at the video footage, on one of the tables, the deputy returning officer said that they're actually counting the postal votes in the count. But if you look at this information here and then think about the election there, they're already done. So they weren't counting the postal votes on that table. I made a complaint to the Electoral Commission, Elmbridge Borough Council and Surrey Police over irregularities with the postal vote. concerns about a breach of Section 66 of the Representation of the People's Act 1983 in the Esher and Walton constituency during the 2019 election. Now, the Representation of the People's Act it's funny, it's like an amalgamation of all different acts into one. It's a very, very, very lengthy document, actually, which you can go and read. So, Section 66 of the Representation of the People's Act, as amended, every person attending the proceedings in connection with the issue or the receipt of ballot papers for persons voting by post shall maintain and aid in maintaining the secrecy of the voting. So secrecy is key here. Except for some purpose authorised by law, communicate before the poll is closed to any person any information obtained at those proceedings as to the official mark, or except for some purpose authorised by law, communicate to any person at any time any information obtained at those proceedings as to the number to other unique identifier mark on the back of the ballot paper sent to any person, or except for some person authorised by law attempt to ascertain in the proceedings in connection with the receipt of ballot papers the number of other unique identifying mark, attempt to ascertain at the proceedings in connection with the receipt of the ballot papers the candidate for whom any vote is given in any particular ballot paper, or communicate any information with respect thereto obtained for the proceedings. If a person acts in contravention of this section, he shall be liable on summary conviction to a fine not exceeding level 5 on the standard scale, or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding six months. I wish to make an official complaint and request a full investigation into the actions of both Mr. Moran and Mr. Raab on the basis that there are a number of suspicious circumstances surrounding the postal vote, and that both Mr. Moran and Mr. Raab are complicit in a breach of the Representation of the People's Act 1983. On Tuesday, December the 23rd, in an interview with Michael Crick, Dominic Raab said the following. So what you've got to think up to that point, there is a situation that exists where they're openly discussing the results of the postal ballot before they come out. And as you see, it ain't allowed. On December the 23rd, in an interview with Michael Crick, Dominic Raab made some comments. And he said that he was quietly confident, and despite Mr. Crick confirming that a poll the weekend before demonstrated that the Lib Dem candidate had closed the gap to just 5%. And there's a link to it there. On December the 4th, the following statement was published by Robert Moran, Acting Return Officer for Elmbridge Council. There's been a growing speculation on social media that brief remarks made by Dominic Raab in an interview with Michael Crick yesterday implying knowledge of the postal vote returns in the Esher and Walton constituency. I have clarified with Mr. Raab's agent that Mr. Raab was referring to his party's own canvass, responses derived from conversations on the doorstep. This has nothing whatsoever to do with the official election process. Postal votes are not separated by candidate and counted until after the close of poll on 12th of December. So it is impossible for anyone to know the result until after that time. That's what the returning officer said. Now, what you have to understand, which is vitally important, Dominic Raab's canvassing team was not in great enough numbers over a longer amount of time to be able to elicit that information that they're claiming they did. So it holds no water. On 11th of December, one day before the election, the BBC reporter Laura Kuenssberg released prior knowledge of the postal vote. Laura Kuenssberg said she'd been told that ballot papers, which have already been counted, pointed a grim picture for Labour. During the interview on Politics Live, she admitted that while parties are not supposed to look at voting papers when they're verified but not counted, they do get a hint of how they're doing. So there's a series of suspicious circumstances involved here, obviously, and I'm going to read these out. I'm not going to show page 5 because that has the person's name on it who sent this to me, and I want to protect their anonymity. So the suspicious circumstances, we can see from the statement made by Laura Kuenssberg that Mr. Moran's comment that it's impossible for anybody to know the result until after the close of poll is not valid. Miss Kuenssberg knew the result one day before polling, and no doubt senior politicians such as Mr. Raab, the Foreign Secretary, would have been able to get a hint of how they were doing. It was suggested by Mr. Moran that Mr. Raab was referring to his own party's canvass. Responses derived from conversations on the doorstep. Mr. Raab said that the postal votes coming in, which gave the impression that he knew the result of those votes which had been returned. The postal vote would come into one central location in order to be opened and verified. He did not say you should hear about the postal vote, which would be the natural response if his confidence was endangered by doorstep canvassing. Equally, in Michael Crick's film, the Conservative team were not out canvassing until 4 p.m, as I said, not in great enough numbers and not in a great enough amount of time. And it just consisted of 7 people. Other photographic evidence released as part of Mr. Raab's campaign also showed small groups of people out canvassing. Given that only a few days have passed since the postal vote packs had been sent out, Mr. Raab's team were ascertaining the voting for postal votes which were coming in completed, not voting intentions. He would have needed a very large team canvassing for long hours to determine to any satisfaction the support for his party via the postal vote. When the final vote tally was announced, the Lib Dem candidate had closed the gap to just 4.5%, reducing a previous 23,000 majority to 2,743. You remember the figures I showed you earlier. This result saw an increase in the Lib Dem vote. This is in line with the previously mentioned weekend poll of voting intentions, which must have been carried out around the same time the postal vote packs arrived. This swing should therefore have been evident in the postal vote, with virtually every other vote being one for his opponent. It's difficult to determine why this would engender confidence unless Mr. Raab had additional information about the postal vote. The Esher Walton constituency had one of the highest turnouts at nearly 80%, a full 10 points above the national average. This added 3,200 more votes to those more from 2017. Esher Walton also saw the highest swing of 18.5 towards the Lib Dems. All of these factors suggest something extraordinary occurred in Esher Walton in 2019, something which gave no grounds for the confidence displayed by Mr. Raab, a man who could not be described as having a natural poker face. For avoidance of doubt, I am requesting a full inquiry into the postal vote at Esher and Walton and a full recount of the postal vote, along with a check of those votes, both validated and rejected. I believe there is sufficient evidence for genuine concerns regarding fraudulent activity around the vote, which could, if determined by independent investigation, nullify the outcome. Consequently, I'm making simultaneous complaints to the Electoral Commission, the Borough Council, and Surrey Police. Now, this document that I've been provided with is nearly 6 years old. Nearly 6 years old. So it shows you how long this was going on for. And you know what stopped this person from pursuing this? Money. Purely money. It costs thousands to even instigate the process of an election petition, something you have the right to do if you voted in or stood in an election. Money. Many people over the course of time have seen irregularities in the votes. What stopped them? Money. If you've seen some of the costs involved in bringing this to bear, it's the system protecting itself over and over and over again. But as we've seen in the recent events in Chester, and I hope it goes that way, that if this is believed to be in the public interest, and remember what I said at the beginning, constitutionally you have this right as an English person to vote in free and fair elections. Costs shouldn't run into it. Be interesting to see what happens with Graham. As soon as I find out, I'll let you know. If anybody else has any stories or tales of election bullshit, for want of a better word, get in touch with me. And meanwhile, what you have to understand is this. This system runs on the back of us being convinced that we can only vote for certain parties to stop others getting in. This system runs on the back of people becoming so disenchanted they can't be bothered to come out and vote anymore. And therefore, this system runs on the back of extremely low turnouts. Labour, in effect, have no mandate at all, because if you look at the number of people that actually turned out to vote and the percentage of that low turnout that voted for Labour, that's not support of a country whatsoever. And if you can't come out and vote for a party, come out and remove your consent. Ashby versus White. It's really very simple. Start reading the law, start thinking about things, start engaging with the process. Otherwise, all this talk of civil war and all the rest of it that we see online could come to pass. And I'm fed up of seeing it. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share me all over your social media, and I will look forward to talking to you soon. Toodaloo.